Welcome to the Unblock Your Business podcast. I'm Abby Rogers, success coach, business coach and hypnotherapist, and I help high achievers and business leaders master their subconscious habits for success, income goals and, above all, happiness. But success isn't just about mindset or strategy. It's about combining both and sealing the deal with a big dose of subconscious alignment, because our subconscious holds the true key to unlocking our potential. Let's dive in and look at how you can show up bigger, better, and more uniquely aligned in life and business today. Hi there, welcome back to Unblock Your Business. I hope that you've been having a wonderful Christmas and are now enjoying that kind of quiet time between Christmas and New Year, doing a bit of reflecting, getting a little bit of perspective on business and life, and it's just a really nice time when that kind of hamster wheel of life slows down, isn't it? And we can take a moment to reflect. So I hope that is serving you well. Today we have a special podcast episode for you with Robin Waite, the founder of Fearless Business. And Robin's got loads of no-nonsense practical tips for your business. Hold on to your hats because there's plenty of info here. But we're going to be looking at things like how to double your income in just 2 to 3 months. And along the way, bringing in some discussions on things like goal setting, money mindset, and how to get a fearless new perspective on your business. So that is going to give you plenty of food for thought. And I hope you enjoy putting that to good use over the next week or so. So let's crack on with the show and find out what Robin has to share. Wonderful. So we have got Robin Waite here today with us, founder of Fearless Business. Hi, Robin. Great to have you with us.
Oh, thank you. I'm looking forward to this, Abby.
Yeah, me too. I've been listening to your stuff for a long time. Your podcast is really, really interesting and full of great experts in yourself, of course, as well. And it's wonderful to have you here to share some of that great knowledge and expertise with us. So first off, I think if you could just tell us a bit about you and your business journey and how things have evolved for you, where you are now, who you typically work with, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I didn't start out life as a business coach. I actually started out life as a systems analyst for 4 years. So that gave me quite a good grounding of how businesses work. Mm-hmm. I'll give you the potted version of it just because it's quicker that way. And then we can get into the guts of being able to give your listeners some value, hopefully, Abby. But and then, fast forward to 2004, I managed to set up an agency, which I ran for 12 years. That was doing web design and branding. Mm-hmm. We worked with over 1,000 business owners during that time, built all sorts of fancy stuff, helped loads of business owners grow. Mm-hmm. And then towards the end of it, realized that I was putting so much effort into helping other businesses to grow that we hadn't really focused that much attention on our own growth and what I wanted to sort of get out of life and out of business, being an entrepreneur and things like that. So there was a couple of things which happened in the last 2 years, sort of around about 2014, 2015, mm-hmm. which led to me writing the first book, Online Business Startup, which became a bestseller. And that ultimately started me on the journey which I'm on now as a coach and sort of author and speaker and things like that. So the book led to getting lots of speaking opportunities. It switched me much more out of doing done for you web design and branding work into a lot more sort of consulting work, like done with you. And that was the point when I realized that was what I was most passionate about. So helping business owners really to see what gaps they had in their own, in their business, in what it was that they wanted to achieve. Mostly what it came down to, though, was understanding the numbers, which harked back to my systems analysis sort of days when that was just all about analysing numbers and making sure that they all stacked up. I realised that most business owners don't have goals. They don't know how many clients they need in order to achieve those goals. They certainly don't really understand the finances that are, around hiring and firing people, the overheads within a business, what conversion rates are and various things like that. And actually I took a lot of great deal of pride in helping business owners just to have those moments of clarity around sort of being able to not just imagine what their goals can be, but then also how to achieve them practically and tactically. So that's what Fearless Business is all about. And the reason why, like, the link between sort of the numerical, the numbers side of it and what Fearless Business means as well is quite important, because when people often see their goals, they pick either very safe goals, which then aspirationally doesn't leave them in quite, a very good space financially, or they pick ridiculous goals, and then immediately the fear kicks in because they don't know how to achieve them. Or it's like walking up to the face of El Capitan, looking up at this cliff edge and then realizing it's too much for them, much like sort of probably some of the clients which you deal with now. So Fearless is about pick goals which do scare you. If the numbers scare you, great, but we do the things in business which scare us ever so slightly less in order to achieve our goals. It's not about being reckless or anything like that. So and I love what I do. Absolutely love what I do.
Yeah. And I think it's empowering to get behind those numbers and really understand what it takes to achieve those goals, isn't it? It just seems so much more manageable when you can break it down into steps and sort of get a bit of an idea of what might be involved or what you need to do to get there, rather than thinking, I can never get there. It's just such a relief in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny as well, like one of the key things around sort of goal setting as well is that most people don't take into consideration what's in their control and what's out of their control. And quite often we set goals based around things which are entirely out of our control. Like imagine having to sign up, 20 clients in 2022, for example. There's lots of 20s in there. For some people, like they see that as, we talk about SMART goals and things like that, but ultimately it relies on those 20 clients having to sign up to something and part with their cash, and then you starting to do some work with them. But actually it's not really one of the best goals that you can set out to do. Actually, one of the things which you could do is, if you know that you have a conversion rate of say like 1 in 5, for example, well, it means that you've got to start conversations with 100 business owners in 2022. Now, starting those conversations entirely in your control. Reaching out to enough people to start those conversations, whether they converse back with you is a different matter. But at least if you know that you've got the wits about you to be, and the means to be able to, on LinkedIn, social media and things like that, to reach out to 100 business owners, that's in your control. And if you do a good job and you converse well with people, there's a chance they might buy. But we can't set goals based around things that are outside of our control.
Yeah, absolutely. It's having that bigger overview, isn't it, about what can you control? How can you bring it back to get those results that you want? Wonderful. So who do you tend to work with nowadays?
So we work specifically with other coaches, consultants and freelancers. They're typically small business owners who are incredibly good at what they do, get amazing results for their clients, but they're still charging time for money. So, their business is all about selling their hours. And what typically tends to happen then is they forget about, all of the other work that needs to be done outside of fulfillment. So sales, marketing, the accounts, the admin and the rest of it, networking meetings, Zoom calls, podcast interviews and everything else. And so they scratch their head at the end of the month going, well, I'm really good at what I do. I got great results for my clients, but I should have more money in my bank account. What's going on? So our thing is about helping those time for money business owners to package up what they do and start to sell packages, basically. So and typically when they've learned to package it up based on outcomes and results, they can charge 2 or 3 times sort of the going rate for whatever service it is that they sell.
Yeah, absolutely. And it helps you, I guess, as well, get out of that whole feast and famine thing, because from my own experience, having done the hourly charging thing in the past, you're so busy, you're fully booked with clients, you're not really putting that much time into your marketing, and then all of a sudden you've finished with those clients and you're thinking, where the hell are my next lot coming from? So when you can package things up and focus less time on the actual client seeing side of things and more time on the marketing and making sure that it's consistent, then it breaks that whole cycle, doesn't it?
That's it. Well, and there's something else which is quite important to add there as well. So it's I liken the business journey to, like, there's 2 major problems. So most people think that they have a cash flow problem, for example. So that's why they have to constantly go through this feast and famine and getting more clients, and you do the fulfillment and then get more clients to do the fulfillment. The reality is, though, that most business owners don't have a cash flow problem, because the cash flows in, it flows straight back out again. And a lot of small business owners especially are living very much hand to mouth. And what they've missed is, and it's not their fault, by the way, it's not that they're doing anything wrong. It's actually, we probably don't have time to go into this during today's episode, but it's like the educational system is fundamentally broken. And I don't mean just in terms of like what we learn at school and university and things like that, but I mean what our parents also were taught to teach us as children, and going back into the very early days. So business security actually comes out of having financial awareness and financial security. So it's never a cash flow problem. It's actually about how do we make more money, and then how do we learn to keep that money? Because if we had the security, if we could make enough money that we could then save 6 months worth of revenue in our business in a savings pot, we wouldn't then have the worry or concern of if we did have a bit of a feast or a famine, especially the famines, obviously, like when we have because clients are annoying, right? They're like buses. You wait for months and months, and then all of a sudden you get a glut of them, a whole load of them come along at the same time. So we should learn to maximize the opportunities when they come in, save some money. Yeah. And then when things are a bit quiet, we know that we've always got that savings pot to fall back on. And then all of a sudden our mindset shifts, because we're not operating from a place of fear where we have to go out and find clients, to pay our mortgage or to put food on our table. Instead, we have to go out and find clients because we want to, because we get a kick out of working with those people and we know they can transform their lives. Yeah. And that's a very different feeling and emotion to having to go out and find clients from a place of necessity and survival. Yeah. I don't know about you, but I hate operating from a place of fear, because make poor decisions. There's normally like second order consequences where things start to go wrong. Yeah. Whereas actually, if you operate from a place of abundance, because like it's just a great fit, often the clients have much better experience. They get better results. You're able to put more value and time into getting them that better result as well. And often on the back end of that, then they're more interested in repeat purchase. They want to come back and buy from you again. Yeah. Or if you don't have a product that they can buy again, they'll go and refer you. Yeah. And that grows a much more sustainable business overall.
Yeah, completely agree. And I think when you're in that abundance mindset as well, rather than just thinking, oh gosh, where's my next client coming from? I really need this client right now. You don't mean to, but you just approach things like marketing in a completely different way. You put a completely different energy out there, or you just subconsciously kind of project different things into the world through your messaging. And surprise, when you're in that abundance mindset, you attract people much more easily than when you're going, where's the next client? I'm desperate for this next person to get in touch. And it really makes a hell of a difference, doesn't it?
That's it. There's something as well around, like, because most people see that operating from a place of fear as that it kind of creates for want of a better phrase, it creates kind of a bit of a dark energy. And most people don't know how to harness that. There is actually a way to turn that into a positive energy, which whether it goes into finding more clients potentially, or for example, I use it to motivate me to do other stuff, like, write content for my next book, or produce videos which I feel are going to be helpful to somebody, or even at the moment I'm building a new app, just as a bit of a side hustle. And I think rather than being the focus on the thing which you're lacking at that moment, you can actually take that energy and turn it into something very positive. Yeah. A lot of people just don't know how to kind of harness that energy and use it for good.
No, absolutely. Completely agree. So, fearless business is a fab name. It's something that is really close to my heart, doing business in a fearless way, because I think we really do have to get to this point where we are pretty fearless to get out there and believe in ourselves and run a successful business. It takes so much stamina and resilience. Do you have any examples of times when you've had to be fearless and take that leap of faith? I'm sure you've got loads. And how did you do that?
Yeah, I mean, well, the biggest one is when I made the transition from running the agency. I didn't know I was being fearless at the time, by the way. That name came a bit later. But when I got to the end of the agency days, and there was a couple of things which happened. But I remember I'd finished writing the book, and it just got published, and I was on that transition between knowing I got to a point where I kind of now understood my worth, I would say, a little bit better. Mm-hmm. So rather than have clients come into my office and say, we want you to build us a website, Robin, I was then just slowing the process down and actually looking at their business and helping them on a different journey. I remember this guy walked into my office. He ran a local mechanics where they did like MOTs and tires and exhausts and things like that, clutch repairs and stuff. And he was getting to, sort of in his 60s, and his goal was basically to double the size of his business before he could then retire and basically sell the business in a couple of years. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't really worth much as it stood. So he wanted to double the turnover. He's like, right, Robin, I want you to build me a website. I want to double it. And I said, well, just hold on a second. Let's run some numbers here. So I started looking at things like average customer lifetime value, you know, how many clients he was acquiring each week for his garage and all sorts of things like this. So I ran the numbers, and I just did a whiteboard session for 5 minutes and came up with this, right, when you need X number of leads, you need this, that, and the other. And I said, listen, I don't think you're going to get this through just building a website. I think you need a marketing campaign, you need a PR exercise and this, that, and the other. And I got the big hand. He was like, no, Robin, I just want you to build me a website. And I tell me how much it's going to cost. So I said, well, you want to grow this business by like £250,000 over the next 2 years. You know, I always work on the basis of it costs you 10% of like the upside. So that's going to be like 25 grand. And he screamed bloody murder. He started effing and blinding at me in my office, like telling me, who do I think I am? Jumped up little kid telling me 25 grand for a website. That's ridiculous. I'm like, well, no, I didn't say that was all on the website. I said, this is just for marketing. This is what you need. Like, if you realistically, but I said, then your business is worth double. You can sell it, you retire. Oh, well, you don't know what you're talking about. So I handed him a copy of my book and I said, listen, I don't care if you use this as a coffee mat, just get out of my office. I said, I don't want to work with you. But read the book. You might find it's helpful. Yeah. Shoot him out of the office. And I think that was the first time when I realized actually that like, yes, as a service client business provider, you're there to serve. Yeah. But equally, you're also a doctor. You're there to analyze the situation, look at the symptoms, work out whether you're the right expert to be able to, you know, prescribe your product or service to them or send them off to somebody else, you know, a consultant to go and work with, for example, who knows more than you. Yeah. And that was the first time when I stood up and I just said no. And then there was like a knock-on effect from that particular incident where it ultimately ended up with me having a bit of a breakdown by the side of a railway line, trying to figure out what direction I wanted to take. I realized the agency just wasn't fulfilling me. I had a team of 4 people who were, I'll be honest, like slightly dysfunctional, probably because I was leading them. You know, and there was just all sorts of stuff going on. 12 years worth of hard work just came to a head. And in that moment, I decided, right, well, if I'm not happy with that, I need to decide on what I am going to be happy with in my future. And literally I went back to my wife, who at this time was 8 months pregnant, and I was like, darling, I'm going to shut the agency down. So of course, international sign of distress goes out. What are you going to do? Are you mad? Well, we haven't got any money, 8 months pregnant, all this sort of stuff. And it's just like, you know, it's like, it's fine. I got money saved. We'll make it work, you know? And then during the next 3 months, obviously we had our second baby, and had my paternity leave, figured out what I loved most about my agency. And that was very informative. And it was actually the consulting and the mentoring, like telling people what they should be doing. Because I've been doing this for like 15 years already myself at that point. Yeah. And then, so designed Fearless Business, which was a coaching program, worked out who it was I wanted to work with, how much I was going to charge, what goals I needed to achieve in the next 12 months, how many conversations I need to do, how many speaking engagements. I worked out, planned the whole thing, you know, in terms of what activity. And I was never more motivated during that first year in the coaching practice. Just, I hit all of my goals. I did 6 figures in the first year. I got all of the clients I wanted to work with plus more, did 50 speaking engagements, you know, 30 podcast interviews, the works. Yeah. And it was just, you know, when you design something and you're like, yeah, I did that. Yeah. But a major part of it was stepping into the unknown. I hadn't done a single speaking engagement before that. I'd done little mini workshops and stuff, but not a proper speaking engagements. I'd never sold a coaching program before. I didn't know what that's. I'd never charged the money that I was charging for coaching or any product at that point. You know, it'd all been based on time. So all of this stuff I know now, I was kind of putting into practice at that point, and trying it out. And it was just like, I just figured, what is the worst that could possibly happen here? 1, I lose a bit of money. Or 2, I look a bit stupid, and everybody's busy. Who's going to give a shit if I look a bit dumb, right? Like nobody cares. They've all got their own stuff going on. What, you know? So those two, and this is what business owners I think forget sometimes. This is where Fearless Business came from. Business owners they build these things up in their imagination, in their mind about like worst case scenarios and things like that. And if they just get over that little fear of stepping into a room full of people and giving their 60-second pitch, that fear of, you know, putting out a piece of content irrespective of like whether people like it or comment against it or whatever, that little fear about, well, if we lose a bit of money, so what? Because quite often what we're afraid of is like that. it's tiny. It's like a little thing. But if we step outside that fear and get the other side of it, like the benefits like massively outweigh the downsides, and leave us in a much better place, either like headspace wise, business wise, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, you can only start making progress once you step past that fear, can't you? And it's once you take that move in a way that feels an integrity to you, all of a sudden the answers start to open up anyway, and you can kind of, once you've got past that fear, you can see so much more clearly exactly what you do need to do to get to where you want to be. So yeah, it totally sabotages everything if you just focus on that fear, doesn't it?
That's
amazing story. Wow. Never look back.
Absolutely.
So we're kind of here, I guess, today. We've talked about some fab stuff so far, but the main thing we were going to talk about was scaling your business and being able to double your income in the space of literally a matter of 2 or 3 months. So tell us firstly where you think most business owners are missing a trick in terms of doubling their income.
Yeah, well, most business owners, they think that marketing is their solution in terms of doubling the size of their business, right? So now, don't get me wrong, I love marketing. I think obviously every business should be doing some marketing, but it is not the thing which is going to increase your business, because I call it the sales cycle of doom. Sell, deliver, sell, deliver, sell, deliver, sell, deliver, sell, deliver. It's constantly like get more clients, get more clients, get more clients. And the reality is like you have to imagine, this is probably going to be the worst analogy ever, but hopefully it will make sense. You know the little Fiat Cinquecento, little Fiat 500 car, right? Yeah. Sweet little car. Little 500cc engine. If you add rocket fuel into that Fiat 500, what's going to happen?
It's going to go bang.
Yeah, it's not going to go any faster because it's only a 500cc engine. But eventually, because rocket fuel it's highly combustible, it's going to blow a few pistons and probably catch fire, I should think.
Yeah.
And in this analogy, the Fiat 500's engine is like the business engine for most business owners, right? Small business owners especially. And it's rickety and it kind of hangs together and we kind of make it work. And it's like the sales, the processes, the systems, the tech, the finances, the everything. It's all encompassed in that business engine. And then the marketing is like the rocket fuel.
Yeah.
Right. So we add more clients into this rickety little engine. Yeah. And at some point it's just it won't go any faster. It won't scale. All that'll happen is it'll just fall apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have this phrase called winging your way to 85K. So obviously in the UK, we have the VAT threshold, which is 85,000 a year. Right. Most business owners they can just wing their way in their rickety little Fiat Cinquecento, and they can get to that threshold really because most of it's relying on them and they can kind of just about hang it together. But then the moment you add in an extra member of staff, or you have that one big client who wants a bit extra, or these other bits of rocket fuel which pop into the mix, then it fundamentally just breaks. So what you have to approach business. But the thing is, most business owners approach growing a business from get more clients first. Yeah. Actually, you need to come at it from the opposite direction. Fix the inherent problems in the business first, turn it into a rocket ship, so it's nicely tuned, finely optimized, then add more clients into it. So that's the first thing which we need to do. The second thing is there's actually 2 other ways to scale a business or grow a business. Okay. The first one of them isn't particularly exciting. It's basically cut your costs wherever you possibly can. Okay. So the reason why we cut costs is because remember what I said about making more money and saving money. Cutting costs means that we have the opportunity, we make more profit. So therefore we're able to save more money and it gives us that security. Okay. So it's important, but it creates slow growth. The final one is we just increase our prices. So we sell the same thing for more money. Okay. Not more of the same thing, but we sell the same thing for more money and increase our prices. And this is where fear creeps in for most business owners. Okay. Yeah, so, and the reason for that is they're kind of, Seneca did a great quote, things are always much worse than imagination and reality. The moment I challenge any business owner to increase their prices, the first thing they say is, oh, all of my clients will leave.
Yes.
Fear. Okay, that's their thought. Now, I've been with Fearless Business. I've worked with 250 clients now over the last 5 years. Okay. We increased their prices on every single one of those businesses. And yes, some clients leave. Okay. And it's not a disaster. What typically tends to happen is when you increase your prices and you've got a subset of existing clients, yes, a small percentage will leave, probably like 10 or 20% maximum. So we're talking Pareto principle here, 80-20.
Yeah.
What tends to happen though is their revenues, because we don't just go for a 10 or 20% price increase, we look to double or treble their income wherever we can, their prices wherever we can. So the income from those existing clients goes up dramatically. It goes up like 2 or 3 times, and it happens very quickly. There's about a 4 to 6 week lag time before you see the results, but it's a very quick improvement. Now, so now we'll save a bit here, but now we're making a lot more here.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden you get a bit more money, a bit more time to deliver a better quality product because you've got more resources and money available to you. It produces more money on the back end. So where we ideally like to end up is to have half the clients and double the income through having a finely tuned business where you're charging your worth. And unfortunately, like most business owners they trip themselves up because they kind of have these belief systems. And Abby, again, you work with clients on this around their core beliefs.
Oh, yeah.
I can't put my prices up because clients will leave. Okay. But the reality is they've forgotten another very valuable subset of clients that are available to them. New prospective clients who've not yet been exposed to their existing prices. Okay, so this is about a fear of the unknown, right? The fear which they've got actually doesn't exist because they haven't gone out and tested and validated the theory where they could be charging double. Yeah, because they just haven't ever gone out and asked for double the money, right?
No.
So all we do, I always throw down the gauntlet and have a bit of fun at this point with clients. So I say to them, well, listen, go and pitch the next 10 clients at double the price. If nobody buys, right? So if you pitch all 10 people and they all say no, and you can document that and show that to me, I will buy your product at the new price point. So at least you've got one customer out of it. Yeah. I've never had to pay out. I mean, I do buy my clients' products from time to time because I only work with clients I believe in, their products I believe in. So periodically I use their services. Yeah. But on that bet, I've never lost. Yeah. Okay. Every business owner out there, near enough, can double their prices and they will still get clients. Okay. Because new clients, they haven't been anchored to a specific price point. They don't know what you charge. So it's the greatest opportunity available. Yeah, absolutely. And there's definitely such thing as being too cheap as well and not attracting those clients because they look at it and kind of go, well, there must be something a bit fishy there because surely I should be paying a bit more than that. And there's a whole huge subset of clients out there just who value paying a little bit more for their services. So I think people completely forget that sometimes, and it's just because we base everything on our own experience, isn't it, and the small world, the kind of narrow frame of reference that we live in, but we forget there are billions of people in the world who do things and believe things in a very different way. So yeah, I mean, I feel quite strongly about you go into so many of these sort of local business groups, and somebody goes, oh, I want a web designer or something like that. And it's just a race to the bottom, who can do it the cheapest. And actually, like, those people are not helping anyone because I hate to say it, the cheapest never stays in business for very long for obvious reasons, because they can't afford to. No. And all of a sudden, like 6 months later, you bought the cheapest website you can, 6 months later, they're gone. Yeah. And whilst with my business, when we figured out the pricing side of things, we were around for 12 years. And yes, we were one of the most expensive in our local area. We were around for 12 years and we had clients who stayed with us from day dot through to the end of day 12 when I sold the agency, year 12 when I sold the agency. Yeah. And that, when you buy into a good quality company who is charging, they don't have to be the most expensive either, but charging what they're worth, it means that they're building a sustainable business and they're going to be around to support you for, ad infinitum. Yeah. And that's much more important. Like, actually, if we're going around just buying cheapest, what ends up happening is I've seen people who have gone to like 10 web designers, paid for the cheapest like 10 times, and ended up spending more than they would have done on the most expensive. And you're just like, it's just dumb. It just beggars belief. Yeah, false economy. False economy. So false economy. That's it. I think big supermarket chains can afford to do it. They can afford to do the bargain basement thing and compete for the lowest prices. Loss leaders can get people in on that basis, but as a small business owner, you just can't do it. It does not work. Cool. So let's talk about scaling. I know that can be quite an intimidating word, I think, for a lot of entrepreneurs and small business owners. From my personal experience, I'd say that scaling can actually be a huge relief. Would you agree with that? Yeah, massively. I mean, when you understand it's basically letting go. I think that's what most business owners struggle with from the scaling perspective. So starting to take on your first member of staff, whether it's a VA or a consultant externally to your business, or your actual first full-time hire, and then being able to delegate those tasks like responsibly to somebody else, I think is quite a big stepping stone. But then it gives you the opportunity to focus on sort of the £1,000 an hour and £10,000 an hour tasks, as opposed to the £10 an hour and £100 an hour tasks, which really somebody else should be doing, in your business. And the scaling is a word which kind of actually I'm quite divided over, actually, and I'm going to get splinters here, because scaling is a choice. It's not something which you have to do. And I think a lot of business owners, again, trip themselves up. They get to 100K, and actually get into a six-figure business. That threshold is a massive milestone. You can have somebody helping you out behind the scenes, and you can actually be making a really decent living off it. So for some people, like, why scale? Why do you have to scale? For others, though, if you are more entrepreneurially minded and you think, actually, I want to get in and out of this business maybe within the next 5 or 10 years, that's a different matter. And that's when you do have to probably take a few more calculated risks. It's when all of a sudden your marketing spend goes from, a few £100 a month to a few £1,000 a month. Now, if you can see yourself comfortably spending 5 or 10K a month on marketing activities, and there's a whole raft of different things, from ads to SEO to whatever, direct message VAs. There's all sorts of things which you can do. People get, managing your podcast, doing YouTube channel, all of those different things. They are actually, you can do them for free, but it'll take up a lot of time, where you can pay people to do it. If you're happy to spend 5 to 10K on marketing, and I hate to say it, in 2022, like moving forward, with no real predictable, what's the word I'm looking for? You're going to have to help me out here, Abby. No guaranteed returns on that investment. In 2022. In 2004, when I started my marketing agency, buy a business card, show up to BNI networking event, start some conversations, and you could close business. Right. And maybe have a website or something. There was 3 things you had to do from a marketing perspective. Now, I hate to say it, marketing is so confusing, knowing which channels to put your budget and your time into. And my one word of caution to anybody who is looking to, that maybe they've hit that threshold and they're looking to scale their business beyond 6 figures. My one word of caution is, make sure that you've got your channels, what's working for you currently, what organically, marketing wise, what is working for you, before you then start to double down and pay for more stuff. If you see scaling as you've been using Instagram and that's worked for you to get to 85K, but you see now scaling as going across into YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and all sorts of different channels, actually you're doing it wrong. You probably want to just think about scaling within Instagram. Stay in your lane.
so important to have that organic proof of what you're doing before you start throwing money at it. And I think that's another thing I see with people who are earlier on in their business. They're just like, I hate this marketing thing, I just want to throw some money at it, get somebody else to do the ads for me, I just don't want to do social media at all, or whatever it might be. But you need that. You need to be able to interact and find out what people want, and you need to prove that it works before you go and chuck a load of money at it. Because I've known people waste thousands of pounds on marketing that's just gone nowhere because they haven't done that first. It's an expensive mistake to make.
Absolutely. And I've been there. I don't mind admitting it, but you have to try. You do have to try these things. I like to think that some of my marketing experiments are on behalf of my clients, because they all need help with this stuff. And I'm not Mr. Moneybags, but I have the means to be able to test out different things. And I think that's one of the differences, I'm able to do it. But then I always end up coming back to the same conclusion, which is, there's probably only about, there's 1,001 different marketing things that you could do, but there's probably 2, 3, or 4 which actually are going to work for each individual specific business. So it's just a matter of finding those things as quick as you can, and then double down on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Not doing 10 different things, but picking 1 or 2 and really focusing on those. Definitely. Cool. So I know you're really a keen advocate of building a product suite to help facilitate sales and build revenue, and I'm a massive fan as well. I think that's a really important thing to do. But I know a lot of coaches out there talk about focusing on a single core high ticket offer as being the fastest way to hit income goals. What would you say to that?
completely agree with them. I think definitely it's the best way to go forward. I have a massive bone to pick with the coaching space, actually, and this is because there are some amazing qualifications and certifications out there for coaches. Whether it's an NLP certification or a business pure coaching certification, whatever, they're leaving people who are really well skilled from a coaching perspective, but they send them out and tell them to start spending hours of their time, right? Sell coaching sessions. Now, the thing is, in order then to make money as a coach who is selling time for money, it's then just within your interest to keep on having those clients come back time and time and time again, irrespective of whether they're getting results or not. So if you're a brilliant coach and you help that person in one session and you're only charging £50 for that session, you're massively underselling yourself, but you'll get to the end of that session and the fear will creep in and you'll be like, oh, well, I've now helped this person. I've done what I'm said I'm going to do, and they're going to leave and I'm going to lose a client. So actually that's not helpful to the industry. I think these certification bodies are doing a massive disservice to the industry, and they should actually spend more time on equipping coaches with basic business skills, on how to actually build a sustainable living out of coaching. Like if everybody's competing for £50 an hour clients, like none of the coaches in that space win, because none of them, there will be some who are just like happy to make a £500 a month or £1,000 a month because they're doing it as a bit of a side hustle. But if the industry is going to win, we have to set a precedent as a whole. So that's my rant over. I suppose the next question is, how do you go about creating that high ticket offer? And so basically what it comes down to is three things. And if anybody's interested to know more about this, so my one of my mentors is a guy called Rich Litvin. He wrote a fantastic book called The Prosperous Coach. And he said that any coaching program should have these three ingredients built into it. He said it should be focused on delivering a specific outcome or result. So that's nice and simple, just one outcome or result for that client. It should be delivered over a clearly defined period of time. He normally talks in terms of like 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. And I'll explain why in a second. And then he says that it should be for a fixed fee. So it shouldn't be like endless, like £50. It should be for, right, I'm going to get you like, I don't know, this is a really rubbish example, but take a fitness professional. I'm going to help you lose £30 in 12 weeks, and it's going to cost you £900. Okay. There's a lot of coaches out there who just, again, they don't have the confidence in the outcome or result, for example. So they'll be like, well, nothing's guaranteed. Well, no, nothing is guaranteed. But if you only get that person to £16 over 12 weeks, they're going to be damned happy, right? We don't base this on guaranteed results, okay? Because we're dealing with people. Like the D word in my vocabulary, depends, it's a swear word, okay? We don't allow that at Fearless Business, okay? But we do the best we possibly can to get them that result, because the likelihood is that person has had a massive perceived value from that experience of working with you. They can see, even if you promise them £20 and they only get 16, they can see that they can hit £20 now. And you've created a massive shift in their mindset. And that's much more powerful than anything. Okay. And the other thing is then over price. It's kind of like, well, and I actually think that most coaches should be able to offer some kind of a money back guarantee on what they do. Okay. And I challenge anybody listening, whether you're a coach or whatever, but if you struggle in your mind to be able to, no quibble, offer a money back guarantee to somebody, if they don't get the perceived value from your program, there's one big problem with that. Okay. It's about your belief and your ability to deliver results consistently to your clients. Okay. And as you can tell, I'm quite passionate about this. If you're selling a product where you don't 100% believe in your ability to deliver, I think that's unethical. You shouldn't actually be selling it. Okay. And more to that, if you do then get to the end of it, if the belief is there, the conviction is there, but you do genuinely get to the end of that program, the client hasn't received the results, ethically, morally, you should be open to giving them their money back. 99% of people listening to this will go, oh, there's no possible way I can do that. I can, they'll be questioning me. They won't be looking inside themselves. And again, this is something which they're not leaving coaches equipped with to be able to tackle those sorts of challenges in the real world when they come out of coaching school. And it's the same for consulting school. It's the same for freelancing school. And yes, nothing's guaranteed, but this is about ethical and moral boundaries, like that you take on yourself as a coach. okay, what it comes down to as well, look, if the client doesn't do the work, they're going to struggle to get the result. But quite often that's obvious. The client knows when they haven't done the work, and they don't ask for their money back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But also, again, as a coach, you should be aware of what things people struggle with from an accountability perspective, and to be able to, offer accountability to hopefully get them to do the things they're supposed to do. But yeah, so clearly define outcomes or results over a fixed period of time for a fixed fee. Super, super important. So I'll give you some examples. So this is not in the coaching space necessarily, but one closer to my heart, a web designer, for example. So if you had web designer A who is charging £50 an hour and says, Abby, this website I think will take me about 20 hours. Is that cool? So about £1,000. You'd be like, yeah, okay, it sounds reasonable. But what this person forgot to tell you after you agreed to do it is they've only been doing it a few months, because they got made redundant. So they've only got a copy of Adobe Dreamweaver and they started building sites or something. And that they because they're selling their sites for too cheap, they take on too many clients. So it takes them 3 months to deliver this site, and it didn't have a blog or a shopping cart on that you asked for. Yeah. And so now you're thinking, well, I'm a bit annoyed by this. Where's my shopping cart and my blog? So web designer A says, well, it's going to take me another 10 hours to add those on, and Abby, you've got to pay for it. What? No, hang on a second. That's not what we agreed. You said it'd take 20 hours. So, and he says, well, I'm not going to do it unless you pay me. And so now there's resentment on your part, on his part. Nobody's happy. So first of all, there's the first clue that hourly rate just doesn't work. Okay. It's broken. It's not a good way to charge time for money. Web designer B comes along. Brilliant. They've been doing it for like 20 plus years, but they don't know what Robin and Abby know now about pricing. Okay. So they're still charging £50 an hour, but it only takes them 10 hours because they're really good at doing it. So hang on a second. The guy who's better gets paid a third of what the rubbish guy does, and he gets better results and does it faster, but he only gets paid. So again, another clue, hourly rates don't work, right? Yeah. And then we end up with the web designer C, right? This person comes along, absolute ninja, right? But they come along with their confidence in their ability to deliver. They get guaranteed results. Okay, so by the end of 30 days, if your website, Abby, isn't producing 20 solid leads for your business each month, they'll refund you money, plus they'll give you £1,000 for wasting your time, which you can spend on either of the other two guys. You're probably thinking, wow, that sounds fantastic, actually. So, because you know how much each client worth to you. If you can get 20 leads, convert 5 of them, wow, we're laughing. We've made our money back already. But this person's website's at 10K. Now, faced with the three of them, you could either work with the first two, like time and time again, until you get that result. Yeah. And you might happen chance find number B who doesn't know about pricing, or web designer B, I should say. But more often than not, with a compelling offer, you're going to go for web designer C, because you've got, he's that confident in their ability to deliver results. Yeah. Might be more expensive, but if they get the results, you're going to get your money back faster.
Yeah, 100%. That's a fab analogy there. I love that one. And like you say, there are no promises. We cannot make promises as a coach because it's so dependent on clients as well. But if you're finding the right clients, oh, sorry,
you just swore on your podcast. No, you can't. I get that. I mean, everybody's different. Okay, so you are going to get a mixture of different results. But again, this is why you shouldn't be all things to all people. Again, if you know your craft and you help solve one specific problem for a specific audience, and you have a system or a structure that is going to make that happen, like on a predictable, repeatable basis, you shouldn't worry about it. Where people get unstuck is they just try and do too many different things for too many different people. And so how can you become a specialist or an expert when you're just too broad? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you can never promise, but you can get very close, and you can have a high expectation of what the right person can achieve, can't you? If you've got that ideal client really dialed in, they're really absolutely nailed, and they're in the right place for your service, they're likely to get that result, pretty darn likely. So that's
it. And imagine, Abby, I'll give you a challenge. Imagine you've got 1 hour left to live. I want to buy that hour of your time from you. Okay, how much is it worth?
Well, quite a lot.
I wouldn't even sell it. If I had 1 hour left to live, I wouldn't sell it.
No.
Prices,
numbers are going up, and
So why, when people are selling their time for like £50 an hour, do they treat every other hour of their life like that? Like completely differently to that? It just doesn't make any sense. Like, time is the most precious commodity, and every hour of my life I've sold so far is gone. It can never come back. Now I've got less. If I sell like this next hour of my life, I've got one less hour. So therefore all of the other hours should be more valuable. And then that's the way it should keep on going as we get older and run our businesses. And people forget that because like, oh, well, I'm not going to retire I'll be doing this for another 10 years or 20 years. So we put it off. We can't see it because it's so far into the future. And so when you break it down and you ask yourself, well, how much is the last hour of my life worth? Well, I think very few people would sell that unless they needed a legacy for their kids or something. You know, it's that would be the only reason why I'd be like 10 million, fine. You know, sorry, Charlotte, my wife.
It's mine. Yeah. Oh, fantastic question. So last question then. I always love to ask my guests this one. What would you tell your startup self now, if you could go back to the very beginning of your business and start it all again? What would you maybe do differently?
So we were I mean, it's obvious, isn't it? It's going to be around pricing. I'd be like, quintuple your prices, Robin. Like, just get out there and start selling for like 5-10 times the price that you're currently selling at. We wasted is the wrong word. We spent 4 years figuring out how to charge confidently within the web design agency. And even then I didn't know what I knew, what I've learned now. And I think if we'd come straight out of the starting gates with pricing strongly, we could have been much more innovative. We could have got much better results for our clients. I hate to say it. I think I would have enjoyed it much more. It would have taught me about money and wealth a lot sooner. There's just so many lessons which could have come out of it. And I know that sounds, in part like slightly capitalistic, but the reason I say that is because I was brought up, in a great family of very hardworking people, but what they didn't teach me was about the value of money, and my money had to build a positive money mindset and a positive association around money. So I spent most of my formative years of my teenage years and certainly my early business years being very fearful of having too much money. And actually, like having like, you look at what the likes of, Bill Gates and many of these sort of startup founders now are doing. And yes, they've made billions, right? But actually they are keeping like a tiny percentage of it. And the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, for example, they're giving away like 99% of their wealth for good causes for other people who wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity. So money, I've started to see as actually, it's a really good, it's a powerful tool, but it's a very good tool if you can use it, if you can get it and use it in the right ways. And so we've started now being able to, because we charge what we charge, we're able to bring in like giving back into our program. We had a couple of young guys join our program last year on a scholarship. I just wanted to work with the guys, but obviously students, they didn't have the money. They've come in and done extremely well. Off the back of the program, we give to 2 charities now as well, in terms of 4Ocean. So with 4Ocean, there's another program thing which I've just signed up to, where every time we sign a client, we plant 100 trees, for example. It's little things like that where you're able to start to give back. When I started my business, I couldn't have done that. I couldn't have afforded to have done it then. I've had to wait until now before we've been able to sort of give back with, a lot of good intention.
Yeah, incredible. And I think so often people feel like they need to give away loads of stuff for free when they're starting their business out, and they're like, oh, I feel really bad charging for this. I should really help lots of people because I've got this wonderful skill and I'm a really caring person. But you can't keep doing that at the cost of your own business and your own time. And just infinitely, if you keep kind of giving away for free and making nothing, you're going to go out of business. Whereas if you can get to that point where you're earning enough that you can then really afford to give back, you can do wonders in the world. And it's
like my book, I give away 50 to 100 copies a month of that book. This is people reading that who are at different stages of their business journey, but they're not ready for fearless business at the moment. They're probably not ready to work with the coach just yet because they're too early in the process. Actually take your shot. The amount of time, I mean, I always say my best clients are the ones who've never spent a penny with me because they're evangelists. They've read the book or they've had an experience like seen me speak or heard me on a podcast or something like that. They tune into the concepts which I'm talking about and they're able to go away and implement it and get the result. Perfect. If we don't have to work together, it's actually the best possible outcome in the nicest possible way. If they then choose to come and work with me, well, that's different. They've come to me for very different reasons and motivations, and then we can accelerate their business. And the book, like, it cost me £1.80 to print out a copy of Take Your Shot and a couple of quid to post it. And it's a neat way. If I'd encourage anybody to like write a book or do a PDF lead magnet, which gives away everything that you do in it, or at least gets people started, because those who can't afford you, they can read a book and they get value from it that way.
Yeah, totally. You can give back so wonderfully well through your marketing, just like we're doing with this podcast, and just Absolutely. Like you do on yours. It's really nice to be able to do that, isn't it? So it's been so interesting talking to you today. Thank you. Really, really good. Some fantastic tips there. Where can we find you if anybody wants to get in touch? Where's the best place?
Yeah, well, I gave a clue. So if anybody wants a copy of Take Your Shot, then they can go to fearless.biz/TYS, lowercase TYS for Take Your Shot. And the fearless.biz website, we've got a ton of other resources as well, just around sort of marketing, sales and various things like that. And then obviously I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn. So if anybody wanted to take this conversation a bit further, just hit me up in there, drop me a message, connect with me, and we can have a conversation.
Wonderful. Thank you. Great talking to you.
My pleasure. Thank you, Abby.
So great to hear from Robin there, and I hope you picked up loads of useful tips and advice there. I think he is certainly a man who knows his numbers and knows his stuff, so really fascinating listening. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, yeah, I get the message, I would love to double my income, I'd love to just put my prices up and package things, but I'm a little bit scared of doing that, then I would love you to check out the details of my Limitless Mind Business Accelerator Mastermind program, which you'll find the details in the show notes. There's a link there which you can click through. And that's basically a group coaching program where we really work on building up that confidence to charge more, to organize your business as you want, and to break free of that fear so that you can just get out there and charge your true worth and start seeing clients that you absolutely love working with, rather than feeling shackled to clients who really aren't serving you in your business. And we can just help you make all those mindset changes to instill the confidence to allow you to do that and make those changes and move forward. So take a look in the show notes. It's called the Limitless Mind Business Accelerator. Just click through and you'll be able to read a whole page of info about it and exactly how it works. I'm quite proud of this one because it's a very flexible structure which is designed to support you at your own pace, rather than being some kind of really quick-paced program where you were just shoved through it before you even had a chance to settle down and get used to the whole thing. So do check it out, and I would love you to come and join us there if it feels like the right time for you. And of course, there are details of where you can find Robin and his Fearless Business Coaching Program in the show notes as well. I will be back next week, and next week's going to be all about sales and how we can do selling with integrity, and some very interesting facts and figures around sales and money mindset. So I'm speaking with the lovely Roshana Husseinova, who is a lecturer in sales and motivation. So she, again, certainly knows her stuff, and she's got all the facts and figures at her fingertips to be able to tell you exactly what you need to do during the sales process to make sure that you're actually getting the clients that you deserve, and how to do that with, as I say, integrity and without feeling icky and cringy and awful about it. So look forward to that one. We'll be back next week, and I shall see you then. Take care. Bye. Thanks for listening. I really hope you've enjoyed today's episode. If you have, it would be incredible if you could pop a review on iTunes, Google, Spotify, or your favourite podcast platform. And if you want to dive deeper, you can find me in my Facebook group Unblock Your Business, or at www.unblockyourbusiness.com.